we are here at the club. It is May 23rd. We've got a few people in the clubhouse, as you can see. We got a couple people online, so we're ready for fun and games today. Royce, why don't you start us off, if you would like, with your video.
My backcountry drive took me to an area I used to enjoy driving on the way to a job. The area is south of the Dalles, Oregon. In the 19th century, the area was part of the Oregon Trail, known as the Barlow Road. The Barlow Road was constructed over the Cascade Range in 1845. The road and the Donation Land Claim Act of 1850 encouraged families to settle there. In the last 200 years, the area has been home to orchards, ranchers, lumber mills, and wheat farmers. Today, its economy is about agriculture and tourism. The days of lumber mills has passed. In fact, I worked at a lumber mill that is now gone. The area has a hold on me as its wide open green vistas, snowy mountains, deep river canyons, and a plenty of open road to drive. See you on the next one. Could you hear the narration? I think it's kind of low.
Yeah, you're a little, it sounded a little muddy to me. How did you record your narration, Royce?
I used a little shotgun mic, then I put it in Audacity, I put it through a noise filter, then I put it through the amplification step.
The noise filter might have been a problem because really, you don't have, did you have noise in it you were trying to get rid of?
I just did it as a normal step.
Yes, it's anytime you're filtering things, you're taking elements out of that audio, and probably for that, if you're in a nice room and it's not too echoey or whatever, it's not necessary.
Okay.
I thought you did a nice job on the narration. You're doing what most people who do narration originally is they lack inflection in their voice. You don't go up or down, you're just kind of monotone, but it's still, you kind of sold that story, I thought. I thought you did a good job.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that the inflection was missing too. I got to practice it some more. But I said, I'm going to do something whether I like it or not, just to break the ice for myself.
Sure.
No, that's good. That was fun. You know, that's an area I've never been in up there, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. You know, the other thing, Royce, too, is, and maybe check when you're mixing your volumes with your music and your narration, your music was a lot higher than your narration, it sounded like. And so maybe check that as you're as you're putting your next one together, or if you redo your narration, see if
Okay.
you can level that out a little bit more so there's not a big gap between the two. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that's common
Yeah.
problem. But the other thing is in Audacity, you might look into learning about equalization, because you could take that same track and re-EQ it, put some of the highs back in that, and it would sound a lot better.
Yeah, I was thinking you were right about the muddle, and I went through all that with the equalization, got online, did all that. Of course, my ears aren't the best, and so I put it through that, and it sounded worse to me.
Okay.
So it was like I had to start over again and re-record it all, which I probably should have done, but
If it sounded worse, you probably made the right decision.
But Royce, talking right now, you're raising and lowering your levels right now. So maybe if you were reading the script, it would be more monotone, because right now you're talking up and down. It's Yep.
yeah, definitely. I was reading a script, obviously, but yeah, that's what you guys told me to do. I had to read scripts, so I put one together.
That's what Ron said to do.
Yeah, and I Wikipedia actually put it together for me. But anyway,
What do you think, Brian?
I think reading a script is nice because you don't lose track and fumble for words and get a lot of ahs and ums in there. Did you modify your original audio file, or did you do destructive changes to it? What we do is we record and make a copy of that and work on the copy so that if we just totally butcher it, we can throw it away, make a fresh copy and work on that instead. But that way your original is still there to work on.
yeah, I actually did make a number of copies using Audacity and tried different things. Yeah, to answer your question, I did use multiple copies, but in the end, I wasn't really thrilled with the voiceover because it was monotone and all that. But I guess I just wasn't willing to try to practice. I want to get myself beat up by bringing it to this group. Then I'll maybe get motivated. So
Susan calls it her now boys and girls teaching voice. You overplay as you're sitting there. You think you're overplaying the enunciation and the inflection and the emphasis, but when you put it out there with the film, you'll find that really you're not. So,
okay.
I mean, go for it. Be inflective as you're recording this. And you may be surprised, because that's the way that a lot of us started out doing is you just go over the top. And then if you find it really is, I bet it's not, you can dial it back from there. But it is very definitely a learned behavior, a learned skill, and it just takes practice. But
when I was going into it, I thought, well, Audacity is going to fix it all up for me. So I really did. I went online and tried to figure out, okay, what are the little tricks to use in Audacity? I'm sure there's a lot that I just scratched the surface, but I tried the equalization. I tried to do some kind of curve thing, and and all of that. And I go, man, I just butchered it worse. So I gave up. But anyway,
all of that stuff will change tones and whatnot, but it cannot add inflection. So kudos for you for jumping in the pool.
Hey, Royce, the other thing that I saw that I'd love to see too is some of your clips went really quick.
Yeah.
And I was just starting to get into the scene in terms of what you were showing. So maybe extend them you might have had some that are only 3 seconds or so, maybe extend some of those 5 seconds, 6 seconds. So we as a viewer can see them.
Waterfalls.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, and
it should have been tighter, but I was going, oh, this is really cool. I was getting into it. And then you cut to the next scene.
Yeah.
So the waterfall was a really nice.
There's a number of those shots. I just maybe look at your time frame and maybe extend some of those a little bit more, because some of those are really juicy and nice. And, let us as a viewer kind of really get into it and enjoy it a little bit. I'm not asking for it to be 20 seconds, but if it's 3 seconds, make it 5 or 6 seconds and see what you think about that.
All right. Yeah. I used to be afraid of I always try to time videos to my music length, but now I know how to hack it up and extend the music because, it's mostly repetitive music. And I just go in there and kind of hack it at a certain point and I cover it with some of the things that I can't tell. I'm sure people can, but I've learned to lengthen the music to fit what I want now. That's helped, at least to my ears and so forth. Anyway, okay. Thank you for your comments.
Well, good job. We really enjoyed seeing that. And if you do some re-narration, it'd be fun to have you share it again with us so we can see how you've worked on your inflection and also your recording of the sound and maybe not so much filtration on it.
All right.
I like those close-ups of the flowers and your music you choose.
Oh,
Yeah, good choice.
yeah, I think so. The music was really nice. It gave a nice feel, very serene.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Well, we've got one to share. We got a couple here to share. Phil's got one. He did one of the blood moon eclipse. And Phil, why don't you talk about it a little bit and then we'll show it.
Well, I was just too lazy to really do it. Because my wife was on the porch and she says, "Hey, there's an eclipse." Oh, no kidding. So I went out there and I just took originally I took a short lens, but then I took a longer, the Tamron out there, which is 600. I think it's a 600, but with a APS sensor, it's
Okay.
like 1,000 or something like that.
Nice.
And but it's not, if I brought out my scope, it would have filled the picture. But the bad part of it is the blood moon, the sensor just couldn't handle it, but you'll see it.
Okay, well, let's take a look and see what you got
It
here.
was just kind of, it was like a grab shot.
Okay, let's see what you got going.
And
Very
I
nice.
got lazy and went to bed. Seriously, I didn't want to wait any longer.
Don't blame you there. Now, what was at the beginning, what was the first scene in terms of, it looked like there was something that was kind of growing or whatever?
Well, that was the
If I go back,
end of the beginning of the eclipse. So the moon is traversing from right, and the shadow just gets,
That's the shadow.
The shadow.
Behind it.
that's the earth.
Yeah.
this right here,
That's the earth.
Yeah.
and then what is all the?
It's probably noise.
Oh, okay. I just,
You know, the digital, I have a real digital imaging system for my telescope. It
okay,
uses a CCD camera and there's no noise and you can do stacking and all that kind of stuff. But I was too lazy to get it out.
okay,
So you could really, with that system, you know, you can shoot deep space and all kinds of stuff.
okay,
This was just kind of,
yeah.
my wife says, hey, there's an eclipse.
Yeah.
So was that video real time? That wasn't time lapse?
That was eight times real time.
8 times real time.
8 times. So that, you know, it's, again, to your eye, you're looking at the moon any night,
Right,
and it's traversing from the lower left if you put it on a frame. So you take a camera out and shoot it any night, and that's what you'll get. But then it only by speeding it up would you actually, otherwise we'd be here for a
Right,
long
yeah.
time.
well, sure. Yeah, but
But I
I,
think I sped it up about 8 times to get the movie.
I think the total eclipse lasted about 2 hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
From
Right.
8:30 to 10.
Yeah, you know what? And on the audio track, I kept telling what time it was. and
Okay.
I didn't use it.
didn't work.
Yeah. Well, it worked.
Well, meaning that you didn't like the,
Well, no, I was just going to put a super up or something.
right, right.
But I think I put this together in about 10 minutes.
Well, did you also, as a quick question, I like the fact that you were coming bottom left up to the top. Then were you reframing for
Yeah.
the next section?
Sure.
Away you go.
Because I was using a non-motorized,
Right.
it's just on a tripod.
Yeah.
Long
Locked
ways.
down.
But I don't have, unless you put a camera, I could have put that on my telescope mount,
Right.
locked it in, and then it will track.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but, and they also build equipment that will do specifically moon shots that will track the moon. So it will always stay right in the center. And for an eclipse, that would be perfect.
Sure.
And that's what I used on the solar eclipse. That was, when was that?
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's like 3 years ago or whatever.
When are we going to get a seminar on seeing you use this equipment? Meaning the telescope and that stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
That'd be damn neat.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun to,
The shooting, when you set up the laptop, that you have to have a table and all that stuff. And I usually use the scope out in the Thule's. So you have to have a table, you have to take all the equipment, all the cables,
sure.
and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of a pain, and I'm just lazy.
Yeah, but I think as a group project, I think
The
that would be
images,
fun just to see it.
not my images, but the images that were shot with this exact equipment that I have, just blow me away.
Well, damn it, you need to blow us away.
Okay. They're just, I
Well,
mean,
you know, one of the things that the club doesn't do is, you know, we advertise the club,
Right,
but we used to have some classes on teaching different things.
sure.
But the people that are coming in, it's like, well, gee, I never made a movie, so I don't want to stay here. I'm not going to learn how to do it.
Right.
that's a good point.
So we don't have any education.
Well, let's talk to Gene about it.
Well,
Gene is
but
the
it would be within our club to do it.
Well, sure. But I mean, I think that's just to me, I think that could be a very interesting little demo, so to speak, a behind
Yeah.
the scenes
Oh,
of
yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
what it takes equipment wise, and then what you're hooking up, and then actually shooting something, seeing the images. I think that would be a great,
Well, there's a store in Tucson called Starizona.
Right.
okay,
If anybody's ever been in there,
Yeah.
you go in there and just look at the images they have up on the screens, and they were all shot here under terrible light conditions. They shot in front of the store, and the Crab Nebula, and all, I mean, it's just
Right.
unbelievable stuff.
Phil, do you know a fellow named Dave Kenny? He at one point belonged to the camera club. I don't know that he does now, but he's got a big telescope and he's shooting the nebula and that kind of stuff.
You don't even need, in today's world with these imagers, you don't even need a big telescope.
Well, I don't mean big, but it's powerful. He's getting great shots. But he lives, he's in Green Valley.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys around that do it. And
Yeah, I
their
used to know
stuff
if you
is
run into him.
amazing. No, I haven't. And then of course there's, what's his name, the guy, but the Levy, the comet discoverer, lives out at Vail,
Okay.
and he's got an observatory out there. He's a really nice guy. He would be a wonderful lecturer
Speaker.
to bring
Yeah.
in. I mean, not for
Speaker series.
Holly's speaker
Yeah,
series there. He'd probably do it.
Well, there you go. We got some ideas.
And this is a big astronomy area.
Oh, sure. Well, I think it's just, to me, I'm always fascinated by gear, and I love to see what people are doing, how they are doing stuff. And I think that would be something that most of us do not have, that level of gear.
Well, it's expensive.
Well, that's why most of us don't have that level of gear for something that you think, okay, I'm just going to do this once or twice kind of a thing. But it'd be fun to see it in action.
Yeah. So I started off with I've got one of the smaller 6-inch cat-eyed optic scopes. They're a combination of a reflective and refractive scope. And I started with this Nikon body on it and got some amazing stuff. But boy, you go to these real dedicated imagers.
Sure.
Whew. And then you do stacking and the software. It's pretty cool.
Excellent. Well, I think
I don't know if it's excellent, but it's interesting.
Well, I think it's excellent and interesting. How's that? All right.
Moving right along.
Okay. Well, I got one quick one to share from beautiful Aho, your favorite.
You know what? Your film on Aho changed my mind about Aho.
Well, I got one more that might.
I mean, Aho has always been the armpit of southern Arizona.
Well, I got one more to share. This one is
That was pretty cool.
one of my beautiful little slideshow goodies. I was intending also to shoot some video, but unfortunately it was incredibly windy. And at some point I was like, nah, this isn't going to happen today. So I just shot stills. So this is a quick little 2-minute video.
shot.
There we go.
You know,
Nice.
I have shot so many of those pictures I'm so bored with the desert in those pictures. And I thought, oh, nobody's in. And I was in California and I showed a film to some people
Yeah,
and they were just blown away by that kind of thing. Not as good as yours, of course, but we forget.
right,
But people in other areas,
Yeah,
when they see this is an alien world.
right.
Yeah, you live.
They think it's just sand and nothing.
Right, that's right.
And all of a sudden, they
That-
see these flowers and the wildlife and everything, the birds, the colors of the birds. and
Yeah.
everything you get out here, it's like, holy smokes.
I was just, my eyes open, wow, oh, this is incredible, what an incredible, because they'd never been here.
Sure.
Well, same thing on Instagram. If you go through, there's all kinds of desert pictures and it says Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
And people are putting in pictures. And I'm sitting there looking at them, I think, oh, here's another picture of Tucson, another picture of Saguaro. But other people are looking at.
They just, this is, and nice job on that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
nice.
Great.
Kevin did such a good job here at remind us of what we had, like I lived in Alaska, pretty soon you forget you live where there's
Right.
mountains right over there. You don't
Well,
even
sure.
look anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing that,
They
like,
just take it for granted.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely,
sure.
absolutely.
well, I think it's that thing too, like for somebody like me, coming from the Midwest and corn and soybeans, and that's all we got.
Right.
You come out here and it's such a different world, and it'd even be like going to Florida or somewhere that's different.
Yep.
You're so used to your environment that you don't see the beauty, so to speak, in your area. Or trust me, when in Illinois, central Illinois, it's as flat as this table.
Yeah.
There's no up and down or
It's
anything.
flatter than that.
else.
I live a block and a half away. And did I look at the cactus this morning? No, I just
No.
walked right on by. So you reminded us.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a gang member of the south side of Chicago and you you drug them into some room and they watch this, they would be amazed
Sure,
that anything exists like this.
sure. Well, it's, the other thing, I think just kind of a fun place to go, and there's not a lot of people out there, which is nice at Organ Pipe.
Wow.
So pretty much, I think.
Well, no, there are people out there.
Well, yes,
I've run into it.
Yeah.
I know that. I think we saw all day, though. I think we only saw 5 other cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you, in a sense, you've got the place to yourself and you can spend as much time as you want in each location. So.
Kevin, on those in those slides, you use a lot of vignette. Is that what's the right term for it?
Vignetting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing Royce, and I've talked about this before. I've got a mask that I overlay the video, and it's an edging mask. And so basically that helps kind of give some of that vignetted feel where it's going to darken the sides and the top and the edges. And then your eye is going to really get sucked into the middle. So that's part of it.
He's Mr. Vignette. When they bury him, when they lay in the coffin, they have a big mask.
Oh, look good.
Well, see, there are some things that you could show us how you do that.
I would be happy to do that.
That's
Set an
another
example,
thing.
right?
Yeah, I'm happy to send out, and I'll send it out again. And when I do the summary this week, the little masks that I have, you just overlay them over the top. It depends on your editor, but for those that are using DaVinci or like I use Final Cut, I don't think we can do it in iMovie.
Vignetting. I don't think so. You can do it on the iPhone. And obviously Lightroom has
You can use
all of it.
Photoshop. That's
You could do it in Photoshop and before you even
for you.
import the photos.
Yeah, that's why I assumed that you had processed the photos because there was differences. At least I thought there were differences, but you're saying it basically is the same mask for every photo. And
Well, yeah, Royce, that overlays the entire video. Now I am
Right.
going in on the photos and I'm doing Photoshop and doing other things to make a photo look as best as it can look. So there might even be a little bit more on certain photos, depending on what I'm showing. But normally on everything that I do, I always put that mask on top. And I just think it really adds a nice little look to anything that I'm doing.
So when you're going through your photos, what's the length of your video based on? Like photos that I can't let this one go, or I got to match it to the length of the music. Which one?
No, I mean, really, this is again, my personal thing when it comes to a video like that.
Mhm.
I want to keep it 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If it gets 4, okay, fine. But I'm more of I want you as a viewer to want more. I want you to look at it and say, damn, that was good. Not, oh my God, this went on for 20 minutes and he had all these damn cactus shots. And a minute in, I was bored as hell. I don't want you to feel that way as a viewer.
So you're saying with my video, I did that because you didn't go longer.
Yeah, but if you notice, I didn't have as many photos and things as you had. And I left my images up, maybe 4 to 6 minutes, just depending on what the shot was.
Or second.
Well,
Or seconds, I mean, I'm sorry.
And
Thank you.
Kevin had them all changed to the beat. So that was one thing I did with a lady that I'm helping her with a memorial service set of stills, is I went through the music track first and put down the beat markers. And then we adjusted all of the still clips to change on the beat.
I did that manually, and normally I don't do that. But in this one, because there was such a gap where the guitarist would, there was like a second or so at least between when he would go, if I play just a little bit of it again. And basically I would just sit there and say, okay, let's go ahead and extend it. There's that little bit of a pause. And so I said, okay, let's go ahead and let's time it to switch on that pause.
And most people would never see that consciously,
Yeah.
but it
You feel
has
it makes,
an
You
effect
feel it.
on
Yeah,
your brain.
you definitely feel it.
know.
Yeah.
And,
Grace is the exception.
No, I mean, when it depended on the speed of the music and whether I would put them for one beat, one measure basically, or two, depending on how long they wanted the clips on. But they all did dissolve and change then with the beat, with a beat, I should say.
Speaking of music, what do you use for sources for music?
Well, I'm using there's a paid source called Audio Blocks.
Story blocks.
Story Blocks is the parent, and then
Right.
audio, they've got audio, video, and graphics. It's about $150 a year, but I'm doing it obviously for work. So I have that access, but there's plenty of free sources out there.
That's a YouTube.
Brian has a ton of links up on
Go to the Camera
Yes.
Club website, to the music resources page, and you will find some of those links.
I'm sorry, Brian, where
Actually,
was that?
Brian, I've been through some of those, Brian. So I've looked.
there's also, Adobe has put out their music. And you can get paid, you pay for some of the music.
Sure.
Some of it is free.
Okay.
They've got a free section. And it consists of a lot of clips that run between 2 to 4 minutes. And they're all
YouTube's got a lot
different.
of free stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all.
and a lot of it is really high quality.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
This is Adobe something
Adobe Music.
Just Adobe's website.
website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I use what you use.
Yeah. There's so much stuff out there, Royce, that like Brian has said, if you go to the club's website, he's got a great list of all this free music that's out there, and you can go and find stuff. So well worth checking out.
I have a half a dozen sources that I use. I wanted to hear what you guys used.
Yeah. Trust me, if I wasn't working, I wouldn't be paying for the service.
I mean,
I would
You're not
find
paying
the
for it.
version.
You brought it out, didn't you?
and I use Purple Planet a lot. That's one.
Okay.
I'll tell you the other quick goodie that I've learned from this group. I never would have put pictures to a beat, but after seeing what people have done in this group, that's what influenced me on that video was like, oh, yes. So I applaud the group members for bringing new ideas and also sharing those ideas. So thank you for that, because I think it really did help that video a lot.
Oh yeah.
There was a gentleman named Phil 10 years ago who brought in his drone, and that's what got me going on the drone.
See?
That guy's an idiot.
Did I say Joe?
That's why we need to have a telescope demo. So
No, I'm not sure I'm the guy.
By the way, Kevin, when you work your transitions, is there a pattern you've got in mind as to how you're going to transition from one image to the next, or is it just?
I'm just doing a cross dissolve. So depends on what you're doing, but for a slideshow like that, I think a cross dissolve is really a nice effect. And there's also a softness to it. Normally, I would say a 1 second dissolve, sometimes a 2 second dissolve. It just depends on what I'm doing.
Okay.
But instead of being like a flip or some weird wipe or some other goodie, I just think the dissolve in and out is nice.
Yeah, it's just got a lot of eye appeal.
Yeah.
It's just easy on the eye and.
Dissolves there are so many transitions and they're just junk.
Yeah.
And then you get people that use a different transition between every slide.
Venetian blinds and flips and it's all.
But commercials don't use transitions.
Most don't, because they're doing quick cuts.
Bang, bang.
And I do the same thing on like my Caterpillar stuff, like my machine stuff. It's always quick cuts or just a hard.
Because you're trying to jolt the audience.
But it doesn't
Here's a
last.
new idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't last that long. That's why you don't get tired of this debate.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that. Well, and especially too, I think because I'm adding movement to the photo. It's not just a photo coming on and off. That dissolve helps kind of give that flow.
Yeah.
So
It also goes with your beat of your music too.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Royce.
It goes with the beat of your music too. I mean, if you got some fast music, you don't want that dissolve in there. You want things to click along.
Yeah.
yeah, you're 100% correct.
That's right.
Yeah, it's whatever, it's whatever you want to create and how you want to do it. So, I think that's the beauty of this. Everybody doesn't have to do it the same.
And I've noticed, I like cross dissolve if I'm going to use transition, but if I'm changing location or time, a fade to black sometimes is effective.
Yeah, and Royce did that a little bit in his.
Yeah, I did that intentionally. I put a second break in there. When I did transition different geographic areas, I tried to make that break.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It just kind of puts you in a frame of mind, oh, there's something different coming.
Sure.
Well, in film, in Hollywood editing, audiences have been trained for 100 years to equate a dissolve with a time change.
Mm-hmm.
Here, we're not doing a time change.
Right.
But when you're going from somebody in downtown Paris to somebody in Istanbul, they will just simply use a dissolve, and the audience have learned over 100 years that, oh, now we're going someplace else. And that's just, can you explain that? No.
Right.
That's just the way you've been trained. Just like music, when you listen to music on a commercial film, from the pace, tone, and beat of the music, trouble is coming.
Sure.
Or if it's nice, sweet, little birds or whatever, it's going to be a nice meadow scene. And why is that? It's just because that's what we've learned.
Sure.
If you're in the water and the music stops, the shark is coming.
That's right. But it's just the way our audiences have been trained, and where it's all built into it.
Sure.
Not built into it, it's learned. Because if you took a child, they don't know. You can show Jaws, the
Yep.
kid would go, oh, yeah, that's fine. Because they haven't learned that that's
Right.
danger.
Yeah.
Hitchcock, everybody remember the movie The Birds?
Oh, yeah.
Third grade,
There was some crazy music,
You're completely wrong.
Oh,
Go any further. There is no music in The Birds.
isn't there?
None. That is the whole, Bernard Herrmann, who was the composer for Hitchcock, he was consulted on the film, but there's not a note of music in The
Yeah.
Birds.
But the Birds made the music.
Sure, and the sound effects, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the one film, he has no music in it. Yep.
Yeah.
But the loudness of the Birds, it was, man.
did you get it? Were you-
Sorry, Doug, sorry.
Doug, have you been into Gene's Gummies?
The who?
Gene's Gummies?
but even when they turned on the radio, it was only Muse. There was no
Yeah.
music
Right.
on the radio. And when she was making the drive up from San Francisco, all you hear is the Aston Martin engine,
Yeah.
no music.
Yeah.
And the birds are landing. That was the
Well,
cool stuff. in that movie.
If you're on a road trip, like on a Saturday, it's just nice to find an AM radio and listen to people do time to trade.
Oh, those swap shop.
Yeah.
Swap shop,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
all the interesting stuff they,
Oh, my.
Sorry, Doug.
You're okay. Brian, do you have anything that you want to share with us today as a group?
I think he took a body break.
He might have. All right. Does anybody else have anything to share with the group? Okay. Next week is Memorial Day, so the club is not open, so we will not have our off week get together. And then we will be here in about 3 weeks again in club. The 6th, I think, 6th of June is a Monday. We could have an off get together. We'll send out notes in the summary. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and joining us once again. We look forward to seeing everybody in a few weeks.